Hey there, it's Clay with modernlove.life, and in this video we're going to be discussing 4 things that your ex deeply wants but is afraid to ask for. I know that not a lot of people will really initially see things this way, but hopefully you will if you watch enough of these videos that I make. But your ex is a person too. They're not just this person up on a pedestal, this impeccable person who has the power to accept you, reject you, decide the fate of your happiness and your emotional life and your relationship and all of that. But they're actually a human being. They have their own fears, they have their own desires, they have their own wants and needs and all that stuff. I think a lot of us get that on a deep intellectual level, but maybe not so much on an emotional level. We're like, wow, there's actually this human being having a human experience in front of me. And if you start to think about that, you start to think, okay, well, like, what is it that this human being actually wants, right? There's all these people on the internet that say, oh, okay, if they're a man, they only want to sleep with you. If they're a woman, they only want, commitment or something like that. They're an avoidant attachment style, therefore they only want space and they never want to be near you. They only want to, communicate through smoke signals as they sit on a mountaintop hundreds of miles away. Or if they have a different love language, all this. But basically, they're a human being. And we can look at all these different lenses. We can look at all these different things. We can look at like psychological disorders, personality disorders, all that stuff. But as long as we're looking at them as some sort of other thing, like, oh, they're a man, they're a woman, they're an avoidant, they have NPD, they have this love language, they have that love language, they have this attachment style or something, we're always going to see them as something else other than a human being. And what we want to do is we want to actually obviously see them as a human being, as we've talked about in many of our videos, because that actually allows us to connect on an emotional level rather than seeing them as some sort of like weird specimen in some scientific laboratory that we need to like probe and poke in order to understand them. Like, no, we're all just human beings, right? And so when you think about this, like, what is it they actually want on a human level? So the first thing that they want is they want permission to feel whatever it is that they're feeling. Now, breakups can cause people to feel all sorts of things, and most breakups happen because of some sort of emotional response to something. When we work with clients, they'll come to us and they'll say, okay, initially after the breakup, I tried to do all this stuff. I did the begging, I did the pleading, I did the reasoning, I did the logic and all of that, and it just didn't work. Obviously, that doesn't work. I think you found that out probably by now, hopefully. If not, then, little sneak peek of what's to come. Basically, why this doesn't work is because you are saying that how you're feeling is wrong. You shouldn't feel sad. You shouldn't feel frustrated at our relationship. You shouldn't feel that way because what I actually said then was this. You shouldn't want to break up with me because what I was really doing was I was saving up for an engagement ring, or all these sorts of things, right? But if you can just look at your partner and look at your ex and just take it all in and just give out the vibe. You don't have to directly say it, but if you can say it in some form or other, or just communicate it through your presence or actions or something, that how they feel is totally okay. How they feel is absolutely acceptable. Then you're going to create a lot of spaciousness that allows them to lower that defensiveness that they feel towards you. Okay, that's the very first thing that you want to do. The second thing that they want but are afraid to ask for is to know that you really get them. Now, this kind of builds off of that whole emotional thing, but you can accept them, but you also want to show them that you really get them. You understand how they feel, you understand where they're at, you understand that this is a complex, difficult time for them, you understand all of these sorts of things. In the past couple videos, we've talked about emotional connection, and this is really where that starts to shine. Of course, this relates to the breakup and all the things that they're going through, but this also relates to just getting them as a human being, getting them as someone who's just trying to find their own little slice of happiness in life, someone who's just confused and trying to navigate through this complex and overwhelming life just like you are. And if you can show them that you get them, then they're going to feel a lot of emotional connection for you. And here's the thing, is that oftentimes it's really hard for people to connect emotionally, especially over the past year or so when we just haven't had a lot of human contact, many of us, depending on where you live and what sort of restrictions have been in place, but also just in a general sense because of how we've been interacting with other people over the past, 15, 20 years or so, just as we've gotten into social media, smartphones, and all that sort of stuff. There's been a lot of research done on how it actually decreases our ability to connect, have meaningful connections, meaningful conversations, and meaningful lasting bonds with other people. So people have been conditioned to have a low level of dissatisfactory connection. And so if you can just connect with them, just bond with someone in a deep, meaningful way, they're going to be thirsty for that and they're going to want more of it. And it's going to really make you stand out in a huge kind of way. The third thing that your ex really wants but is afraid to ask for is to have a great relationship with someone that they can trust. I think all of us, when we really think about the kind of relationship that we want, we just want to have a great relationship where we can just be ourselves. We can show up at the end of the day after a long day of work or something like that and just meet up with our partner and just say like, hey, I trust you. I know that we're going to have this great relationship. I know you've got my back. I know we're on the same team. I know we both want the same things in life. I know I can trust you and all of that stuff. And if you can communicate that in one way or another, that's really all that they want. That's all that your ex wants. That's why they're going into a rebound relationship, because in some way they think it's going to give them the kind of great, thriving connection and trust that they want. Obviously, that is extremely low. We've talked about that before in our series on rebound relationships. You can find a link to it up there. But rebound relationships have a very poor track record for reasons that we talk about in that video playlist. But that's really what they're striving towards through all of their actions, through all of their confusing behavior. They're just striving towards having a great, thriving relationship that they can count on year after year, decade after decade for the rest of their life. And if you can show them that, then that is something that they're going to find very desirable. Now, of course, we want to be able to trust that there's this connection in place. So we've talked about the connection. We've talked about how you can do that, and that's going to be really helpful. But we also want to be able to instill a sense of trust where we're not giving them, mixed messages. One day we're really empathetic. The next day we're really all about ourselves and in damage control mode or something like that. I know it can be difficult, but we often do send mixed messages ourselves. It's not just from our ex, but many times we do that as well too, based off of our own emotional state. Whether we're coming from a place of panic, whether we're coming from a place of desperation, whether we're coming from a place of neediness or whatever, it can cause us to behave one way on a certain day and in an opposite way the next day. And so what we want to do is we want to be able to create a sense of trust and consistency in how we're bringing ourselves to these interactions. By the way, if you like this video, help us out by hitting that thumbs up button for the YouTube algorithm. It does help give us a little bit of a lift with YouTube, so it's a free way to support the channel. Hit that thumbs up button, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you're having for breakfast. Let me know what you're having for dinner. Let me know what your plans are for the weekend. Whatever. Any comments and interactions on this channel will help give us a rise in the algorithm. It's totally free, so help us out. Also, if you're interested in free help, I know a lot of people say they cannot afford coaching. That's totally fine, but we do have a free resource called our email newsletter. You can find that right down below or over at modernlove.life/newsletter. This is a free service where you get a nice little report when you sign up. It goes through a few different misconceptions and myths about breakups and saving a relationship, such as the no contact rule, why not everyone needs to do it, why it could actually hurt your relationship, as well as other things as well too. And we also send you tips, advice, and strategies every now and then to help you to get the kind of great connection that you want with your ex. Again, it's totally free over at modernlove.life/newsletter or right down below in the description box. And then the fourth thing that your ex deeply wants but is afraid to ask for is to just have interactions with someone that feel good. That's really all that they want. That's really all anyone wants when it comes to relationships, dating, and all that sort of stuff, is to just have interactions that feel good. They don't want drama. They don't want people blaming them. They don't want guilt trips. They don't want all of this sort of stuff. They don't want someone reasoning with them and trying to tell them that how they feel is wrong or how they feel is immature or anything like that. They just want someone who gets them, someone that they can trust, and someone who they can have a good, positive interaction with. Now, granted, positive interactions aren't always going to look like laughing and flirting and clapping and all that stuff. Maybe they will, but they can also look like being real with one another. And if you can just be real with someone, that is going to be deeply nourishing to them. Like we talked about before, so many people are starved for an authentic, genuine connection because of social media and all that stuff. However, if you can just make the interactions feel good, connect on an emotional level, be real, be authentic, be genuine, you're going to be able to create so much bonding and connection with them that you're going to fill all sorts of needs that they are deeply and secretly wanting that they're never going to just come right out and ask you for. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful for you. Once again, if you like this video, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the newsletter down below, and I will talk to you next time. Please take care.